Welcome to the Word for Life podcast, a daily devotional covering the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
In Numbers chapter 18, we read about the priests and the Levites. First, their work. The priests and the Levites must do 4 things according to this chapter. Number 1, Aaron and his family must guard the tabernacle and not allow the Israelites to touch the sanctuary. Number 2, they also must guard against other people doing priestly duties. Number 3, the Levites must assist Aaron and his sons with tabernacle matters, but must not perform priestly duties. Number 4, no one else, whether Levite or a layperson, must do priestly duties. If they do, they will be put to death, probably by the priests themselves. If these guidelines are followed, then the Israelites can come and worship the Lord without fearing His wrath. Friends, this was a lot of work and responsibility for the priests and the Levites. Notice how this is said in verse 1 of this chapter. The Lord said to Aaron, "You, your sons and your family are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the sanctuary. And you and your sons alone are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the priesthood." And in verse 5, the Lord said, "You are to be responsible for the care of the sanctuary and the altar, so that my wrath will not fall on the Israelites again." But these priests and Levites, who did so much work, did not get an inheritance in the promised land. In fact, their entire tribe did not get an inheritance in Canaan. Friends, when the Lord gave the land of Canaan to the Israelites, He gave every tribe and every family a piece of land. If you read the book of Joshua 14, verse 5, it says, "So the Israelites divided the land just as the Lord had commanded Moses." And if you read Joshua 19:51, it says, "These are the territories that Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel assigned by lot at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and so they finished dividing the land." Friends, God gave an amazing inheritance to the people of Israel. Deuteronomy 6:11 talks about houses filled with all kinds of good things, wells, vineyards, olive groves. These are the things that God gave the Israelites. But if you read the book of Joshua, it is clearly mentioned that Joshua did not give lands for the tribe of Levi. That is why we read here now in Numbers 18:20, the Lord said to Aaron, "You will have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them." Similarly, for the Levites who helped the priests, they also had no inheritance. But then, in chapter 18, God makes a secure way for the tribe of Levi to have food every day. The offerings listed in this chapter will provide the food that the tribe of Levi needed. If you read verse 8 to 20 in this chapter, you will see a lot of offerings listed. You see, most of the Israelites' gifts and offerings to the Lord were not completely burnt up on the altar. So, this chapter explains what portions of the offerings belong to the priests and their families. Those portions were considered holy or most holy, and they became the food for the priests, and in some cases, their families. Also, the Israelites were to give tithes of their harvest to the Levites. In this way, the Levites and their households will be provided with food. Verse 24 reads, "Instead, I give to the Levites as their inheritance the tithes that the Israelites present as an offering to the Lord. That is why I said concerning them, they will have no inheritance among the Israelites. The New Testament talks about the same principle of providing practical support for the leaders of the Lord's people. But let's finally focus on verse 20. The Lord said to Aaron, "You will have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them. I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites." Did you notice? God will be their share and God will be their inheritance. Friends, when we come to the New Testament, the same language of inheritance is used, but here to describe eternal life in God's kingdom. You see, the priests and the tribe of Levi lived a special kind of life. They had no lands, but they had to depend on the Lord to provide for them each and every day. God Himself was the inheritance. Similarly, the New Testament believer depends on the Lord for his future inheritance in God's promised kingdom. The priests of the Old Testament showed how it is possible to depend on the Lord and trust Him. The Lord never failed His priests and His Levites, and the Lord will never fail any one of us. He is coming back to give us the inheritance that He has promised to us.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the Word for Life podcast.